Well, this recently happened. Nothing I say is financial advice, but remember when VET became live on Kraken? Something else joined. Now it's something called VeTho, which happened quite recently, by the way. But besides that, VeTho, people might be thinking, who cares about that? Well, here's the thing. On the VeChain Thor blockchain, both VET and VeTho are used, right? VET, it's the primary native token, but VeTho, it's basically kind of like the gas token, right? But besides that point, people may be thinking, who cares about that? Well, here's the thing. It's like Batman and Robin. It's integral, I think, to the VeChain Thor blockchain. So if VeTho gains more popularity, can it indirectly somewhat maybe also do that when it comes to VET? I don't know, but this is my perspective. Why not? This is the way I take a look at it sometimes. The thing is this, when it comes to VET, am I still thinking about hypothetically 30 cents? Yeah, I am. And I'll discuss that a little bit later on in the video and still why I'm still thinking about that. And I'll talk about the price as well and what I think about that as well later on in the video as well. But besides that, I want to talk about this real quick, right? Kraken's pretty massive. And initially everyone was like, oh, why is it only VET? But then we take a look at VeTho. So it's pretty cool. Now this happened like a couple days ago. So quite recently, right? But the thing is this as well. We take a look at VeChain, established since 2017. Ever since 2018, I have never seen a network outage when it comes to the VeChain Thor blockchain. So we got to think about that. That's multiple years at this point. We're already in 2026. VeChain, over 100 enterprise partnerships. We got to consider that. Over 100. Some other projects out there can't get 5. This is over 100. When I take a look at it, VeChain, again, around for almost a decade at this point. And the thing is, we see their partnerships. Like, for instance, Lululemon. Lululemon, of course, very popular, right? A lot of my friends out there that do yoga, they do use Lululemon. Here's the thing as well. We take a look at UFC partnership. UFC is very massive, especially now that it's going to be on Paramount. More sort of eyeballs, right, when it comes to the UFC now because of that. Not to mention what they did with Power Slap. Again, something else that's kind of like, I guess, in that same ecosystem, so to speak, I guess, when it comes to UFC. So with all that going on, it's just a little bit difficult to have 30 cents be removed from my mindset. This is the way I take a look at it. This is just my mindset, though. I'm not telling anyone to do anything, right? And this is the way you take a look at it. Now, we're around 27 times lower than 30 cents, by the way. Totally aware of that. I mean, it's not doing the best as of right now when it comes to VET. But also, VET at 30 cents market cap, considering current circulating supply, is around 26 billion. Again, 26 billion, it just doesn't seem like, to me, as a figure I've never seen before. If I just want to take a look at it, pretty much, right? We take a look at Dogecoin, tripled that in terms of market cap back in 2021. Keep in mind, Dogecoin reached over 80 billion in terms of market cap in 2021, years ago. Now, if I ask myself this question, what has a better use case, VeChain or Dogecoin? Now, of course, in my perspective, I think Dogecoin comes nowhere close to this in terms of the use case, but sometimes it's not all about that, right? Sometimes it's more so about the popularity and stuff like that. I'm totally aware of that, but really? Around a 26 billion market cap, if there was an altcoin season for something like VeChain, does it seem that ridiculous to me? Hypothetically, I think maybe not, but we'll see. When I take a look at VeChain, people like to tell me, well, it's focused on a niche that people don't really care about because who cares about supply chain management? Yeah, of course, it's not the most popular niche out there, but that also has its own sort of advantages, right? Because not many projects out there focus on that niche. Now that VeChain's focus on that, it's pretty much like the most recognizable one in my perspective. So I think it did a pretty cool thing. They understand that, if we compete with other projects out there in such a massive scale, maybe it's a little bit tough. But if we compete on a niche that doesn't really have that many competitors to begin with, but then we really focus on the quality, the effort, the energy, the time, maybe we could do something. That's sometimes the way you take a look at it. It's like, for instance, if we're playing football and everyone wants to be the quarterback, there's only a limited amount of space. Why not try out to be the wide receiver or maybe the tight end or something, right? So this is the way I take a look at it. Sometimes a certain niche, it's already oversaturated, which is why I like the approach that VeChain is taking overall, because again, they're focused on a niche that doesn't really have, like, I think so many competitors that are that famous. Which I think that overall, though, it could have been a blessing in disguise for something like VeChain, because now who's really competing for it for first place? Like, sure, it's somewhat indirectly competing with like an Algorand, Cardano, Ethereum, and the BNB chain and all this, but for its specific niche, it just doesn't have like a glaring number two sort of competitor that's sort of almost overtaking it in terms of popularity. It just doesn't seem like it has that vibe to me. When it comes to a lot of other markets out there, we see a very clear number two, number three, number four, number five, and so on. But when it comes to this space of supply chain management, I just don't see that clear number two, three, four, and all this. So I think that could have been actually, again, who knows, a blessing in disguise hypothetically when it comes to VeChain. So overall, when I take a look at it, I'm still a fan. I just haven't given up. But in the meantime, though, I just like what they're doing overall. Some other projects out there, they've completely forgotten about new listings, but I still find it pretty cool that VeChain someone still cares about that. Not to mention, I see them constantly updating. They're still doing things. You know, I see the Hayabusa upgrade not too long ago. So really, yeah, in the grand scheme of things, I feel like they're at least still doing something. I like the activity, right? I mean, they don't necessarily have to be doing the best things of all time, but in terms of the activity, I still like it, because sometimes during a time like this, when the sentiment isn't the best, when the holders are, kind of questioning the future sort of vibes of the project, sometimes they just want to see the project be active, right? They just sometimes want to see it do something. Like, it doesn't even mean they have to do anything really in the grand scheme of things, but even just a simple post, just even doing something, that sometimes is already enough. So I like that when it comes to VeChain, but VeChain's not only just doing that, they're going beyond that and actually doing something like, again, the Hayabusa upgrade and also the listing that we saw recently and all this. So they still care, in my perspective, in terms of the vibe. At least to me, I'm not a part of their team. I don't know exactly for 100% sure, but at least the vibe. And sometimes optics do matter. It's like a celebrity signing an autograph. Sometimes the optics, it just looks good. I'm just a spectator here. There's nothing else I could really do other than wait, but that's what I'm going to do. It's like, for instance, if I watch the Super Bowl, I can't control anything that happens there. I'm just watching, right? But this is the mindset that I have. Besides that point, though, I'll be sure to make more updated videos. When it comes to VeChain, I want to say thank you for watching, and I hope you all have a very nice day. It's Mali the Captain.